Today, we're going to journey back more than 300 years to dive into an incredible story of faith, loss, and just unbelievable courage. It's a story that starts in the port towns of France, but ends up forging a brand new legacy on the shores of America.
And that's really the heart of it, isn't it? What does it take to make that kind of choice? I mean, to leave it all behind. To answer that, we really have to get to know the man who did it.
So, let's meet him. Our story revolves around Isaac DuBose, born around 1660 in the busy port city of Dieppe, France. He's the patriarch of a family whose roots, as we'll see, would one day run incredibly deep into American soil. Now, to really understand Isaac's journey, you first have to picture the world he came from, the world of the French Huguenots, which was prosperous, sure, but also incredibly fragile. And let's start with the name itself, just real quick. The original spelling was DuBose. Over the years, you can see how it branched out into all these different variations. But no matter how you spell it, it all points back to a single, shared heritage.
So, who were the Huguenots, anyway? Well, they were French Protestants, and in a port city like Dieppe, they were this thriving community of incredibly skilled artisans and really successful merchants. The DuBose family, they were part of this world for generations. They were kind of the backbone of France's skilled economy.
But all of that, their entire world, was built on ground that was about to shake. Because under the rule of King Louis XIV, the Sun King, everything was about to get torn apart. And this slide, wow, it really shows you just how drastic the change was. For almost 100 years, this law called the Edict of Nantes had protected the Huguenots. It meant they could practice their faith, run their own schools, worship in their own churches. But Louis XIV, a very devout Catholic, he set out to dismantle all of it. One by one, their rights were just stripped away. They were banned from their jobs. Their churches were literally demolished. A state-sponsored campaign of terror had begun. And this campaign even had a name, the Dragonnades. The king's soldiers were forced into Huguenot homes with one mission: make life so completely unbearable that the families would break and convert to Catholicism. It was a state-sanctioned policy of pure terror, designed to just crush their spirit.
And just look at how fast this all happened. I mean, it's staggering. In the 1670s, the community is secure, it's protected. By the early 1680s, the persecution is in full swing. And then, in October 1685, the final blow. The king officially revokes the Edict of Nantes. Just like that, Protestantism was illegal in France.
So, this is it. This is the moment that left Isaac DuBose and hundreds of thousands of others with a choice that is just impossible to imagine. You either renounce the faith that defines who you are, or you risk absolutely everything to flee the only home you've ever known. And fleeing was illegal. If you got caught, you were sent to prison, or, even worse, sentenced to a living death as a galley slave. Now, we don't know the exact details of Isaac's escape, but this slide gives you an idea of the terrifying journey so many took. Traveling by night, hiding in barrels on ships, a single wrong move and it was all over. Somehow, against all odds, Isaac made it. He found his way to London, which had become this major hub for Huguenot refugees. It was a safe harbor, for a time, but his journey was far from over. England was just a stop, not the final destination. Because there was this new promise pulling refugees all the way across the Atlantic. The young English colony of Carolina was actually recruiting settlers. They were offering land and, most importantly, the freedom to worship as they pleased. But getting to that promise meant facing one last incredible hurdle, a brutal 2 to 3 month voyage across the Atlantic in these cramped, disgusting conditions. Around 1687, Isaac DuBose, along with his wife, a fellow refugee named Suzanne Couillandeau, they survived that crossing and finally stepped ashore in Charlestown. And what did they find when they got there? It wasn't some grand city. It was a raw, untamed wilderness. This quote from another settler around that time just gives you this powerful glimpse into their new reality. They were given land on the Santee River and started with basically nothing more than a tiny wooden house and the will to survive. I mean, their new life was built completely from scratch. They had to clear the land themselves, build their own shelter, and learn to survive all these new dangers. But the crucial part is they weren't alone. They brought their skills with them, the very skills France had thrown away, and they relied on other refugee families to build this really tight-knit community. And at the very center of it all was their church, the heart of their new world. And it was here, in this raw but free land, that Isaac DuBose wasn't just surviving. He was building a legacy. He was transforming from a French refugee
into an American founder.
You can see his whole American life laid out right here in this timeline. He arrives around 1687. By 1696, he makes it official. He becomes an English subject, and he dies in 1714, after living more than a quarter century in this new world he helped build with his own hands.
And that right there, that is the ultimate triumph of their whole journey. The children of Isaac and Suzanne were born into a world of freedom that their parents had risked absolutely everything to secure for them. They didn't grow up as French refugees. They grew up as the first generation of American Carolinians.
Isaac's story of courage, from more than 300 years ago, it's such a powerful reminder of that human drive for freedom and for faith. And it kind of leaves us with one last thought, right? What similar legacies of resilience and hope are being forged right now by people who are forced to leave everything they've ever known for a future they can barely even imagine?